All right, so continuing. So being aware. So there are a few things that you probably want to, I don't know, ask your provider or at least ensure that they provide. All right. So disk space, that's usually qualified by hosting space or well synonymous to hosting space. So when you're buying the domain is one money, but your hosting is another money. And then the hosting says how many files can I store here. So if you're going to be doing a video hosting website, obviously you're going to need a whole lot of space. All right. So contextualize your needs. If it's a regular website, just a content loading website, maybe with a database, saying maybe you don't need that much space. But if you're running a data intensive website that your database is going to be flooding, then you have to pay attention to stuff like that. 24/7 technical support, that can be important because, well, I mean, if you're running a 24/7 business like maybe a shopping site and it goes down 1 a.m. Jamaican time, well, it goes down 12 o'clock Jamaican time, which is 1 a.m. your hosting company time. 12 p.m. Jamaica time, right? 1 a.m. hosting company time. Then you need the assurance that when you call and say, hey, my website is down, that somebody will answer. Because I mean, after all, that's what you're paying for. It'd be highly disappointing if you're paying money and that is not included, right? What hardware are they using? Well, I mean, I've never asked that question, to be honest. I've never asked that question about the hardware. But I mean, of course, on the software perspective, on the software side of things, it's very important to know that the software that they're using is capable of managing whatever site you're ready to host. So if you're doing your Node.js or your Python, you need to make sure that by PHP hosting, right? And PHP hosting only. Or if you're doing Ruby on Rails, it has to be able to manage whatever. So like I said, GoDaddy is one of the few that offers IIS hosting for .NET applications. All right. Is there a user interface for you? No. I know the Linux junkies probably don't like user interfaces. I don't see why I can move my mouse and click and I'm going to abandon that to write 10 lines of code to accomplish a click. But to each his own. I've had to administrate Linux servers, so I'm familiar with that. But generally speaking, you have um, this user interface that is very common in PHP hosting sites, which is called cPanel. And you would have seen reference being made to cPanel. Yeah, right. So in here, you'd see VPS hosting cPanel. So cPanel is the most common hosting interface used for at least in PHP capable hosting platforms. Does it offer mail? So that's important. Some offer like up to 5 accounts on the basic level. Some don't offer any. Some of them offer 10 accounts with 50 megabytes worth of storage to spread across all of them. So that's something you probably want to look at because having an email address at your domain.com looks more official than at gmail.com. Right? So if you're running a shopping site, yourwatches.com, it's better to have help at yourwatches.com than help at gmail.com. Right? If you get what I'm saying. Can it flex? So I alluded to that earlier. If I need more or fewer resources, how easy is it to adjust that resource allocation to fit my needs? And how much does it cost? Which, of course, is going to play a huge, huge role for you. All right. Sheldon is saying that Google Domains does mail for you. which yeah, that's no surprise. But I've seen others, well, not Google ones, that there's no mail. You have to pay more money to get a um, mail capabilities, email capabilities from the hosting itself. All right. So, oh, I didn't remember that we actually fleshed out each of them. All right, so just to review. So, of course, you want to ensure that you have enough space according to the needs for your website. Um, 24/7 support is always good, and the faster the response, the better. Um, what hardware they're using? I mean, yeah, you can go and ask. I mean, it's good to know that you're sitting on top of a resilient data center. Like personally, I'm not going to go and ask Microsoft what hardware they use. I know whatever hardware they're using, I can't even afford to think about it. Or and the same for Amazon and Rackspace. So I mean, that one is 50-50. But if you say a shady hosting site, then I guess that's a very prudent question to ask. Is there interface for you? So you have to make sure that the control panel you feel comfortable using it. Like personally, I don't know what GoDaddy uses, but I do not like their own. Maybe because I'm so used to cPanel and my go-to hosting site is Bluehost. I think I mentioned that before. Bluehost.com. That's my go-to. Okay. So Sheldon is confirming that they use cPanel now. Right. All right. Does it offer mail? So unique or important things that if you're running a business and you have email, a nice thing to have would be like an autoresponder. Um, so somebody asks for help, you respond and say thank you for your inquiry. Somebody will get back to you in the next day if it take 5 days, but at least you establish some amount of contact with the person and ease their frustrations. So I mean that's something that's good to look out for. So once again, can it flex? Can you scale up or scale down accordingly? Or do I have to go through a whole process, and how tedious is this process to get more or fewer resources? All right. And then of course, cost drives almost everything. So host, I think comfortably you can say cloud hosting is the most costly venture. But then it depends on what you're really looking for. If you're looking for like reliability, control, name brand, whatever it is, different people spend their money for different things. So those are kind of the things that cloud can offer, because not everybody can walk around and say, oh yes, I host with Amazon, or yes, I host with Microsoft. So that's a name brand right there. So if you're telling somebody that your website is capable, then you tell them, yeah, I'm backed by Azure, or I'm backed by AWS. All right. So that's it for now. I don't want to touch the FTP part yet, because I want that to be a working example. So before we get into the FTP stuff, let's just take a look at some hosting site options. So I'm just going to exit this slide for a bit. All right. So, like I said earlier, Bluehost is that's personally, and I'm just saying it because that's the one I use. I'm not saying it's the best, even though it's the best web hosting there. I'm not saying it's the best, but in my experience, it has turned out to be it has been very reliable. The support is excellent. They're not expensive, and they offer a host of features that just make me feel comfortable using their service. Alternatives would be like HostGator. Is HostGator in there? All right. HostGator for me, I had a bad experience with HostGator, but I mean, I'm not going to use that to say that they're not good. I mean, they advertise on YouTube a lot, so clearly they're making a good amount of money. to afford that kind of aggressive marketing campaign, and they're award winning. But ultimately, I'm sure you can just Google and find best like PHP. So the best thing probably is to say best PHP hosting sites. So at least it narrows it down to the type of technology that you're looking to use. So if you look at so Bluehost is second in this list, 2018. All right, so I've never heard of InMotion before. All right, so you have a number of them. Yeah, you're not short of hosting sites. For the purpose of this class, because the other two assignments, one of which is a group work, they will require you to actually host a site. So I wouldn't tell you guys to go and buy any hosting or anything. So my recommendation is to use a free hosting site. So I usually, when I teach this class, is free web hosting or freehost.com. Triple O host, yeah. So I usually use free web host or triple O web host.com. That is my recommended one for the free hosting. And it has a very scaled down version of cPanel. So it's for me it's adequate for completing the course, and it should give you at least a nice little primer as to how it feels to actually get files from your computer onto the internet and actually see your page load from a internet address. All right. So that's the experience I want you guys to have without having to spend the money just yet. But let's walk through how it would go if we were to try and get something on Bluehost. All right, so here they have their offer. They have their offers. The start. You can even do cloud hosting now. Okay, so that cloud hosting thing is gone beyond Microsoft. And then point to note, yeah, I'm going to give you guys the IaaS experience. So I need to point out that a lot of these guys who say they do cloud hosting, what they really do is resell on top of AWS or Azure. So this big company will just buy out or spin up a few powerful servers on Azure, and then they resell based on Azure's capabilities. Because maybe they don't have the Microsoft money to set up their own real cloud. So they just buy up Azure's own and then they resell you at a maybe cheaper rate to get more volumes. So I mean, it's a business risk or continuity kind of thing. I don't know how their business model is set up, but a lot of the times that's what happens when you see smaller companies like this saying that they offer cloud. Like Digicel says that they offer cloud, but they have a very robust data center, though I must admit that. So anyhow, so sorry. So best web hosting and starting at, and then you just click get started now, which will lead you to the offers page. So they recommend this one. So this would be a good place to start because you get a number of little features and they show you how many websites you can get. So here you only have one, here you have unlimited. So you can spin up more subdomains if you need to. Website space is 50 gigabytes here. But if you're doing a video hosting, clearly you can't go with 50 gigabytes, right? So, unmetered would probably be a better fit based on your context. They give unmetered bandwidth, so that's good. Standard performance. One domain is included. 5 parts domains and subdomains. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what part domain means. But then if I click it, no, they don't explain it there. I'm forgetting in this instance what parts domains really means. I had to set up one the other day and it's slipping me. That's what happens when you get to my age. All right. Okay. So Part domain refers to registration of a domain name without the domain being associated with any services such as email or a website. So, okay, okay. All right. If anything, I'll just send you guys a document on that. I'll add it to the Dropbox so that you can have a full appreciation of that. So anyhow, they allow you to have part domains. They allow you to have subdomains. So this one allows 25 subdomains. I remember we established that a subdomain is like www.something.mywebsite.com. So like for instance, VMBS, they have www.vmbs.com. Then they have www.vmwealth.vmbs.com. And they have vmpensions.vmbs.com, etc., etc. So those are subdomains. So with this package, you get up to 25. So sometimes you'd have like www.blog.thiswebsite.com. That's a subdomain example. And then they offer emails. So you have email account 5 and 100 megabytes per account. So like I was saying, they may offer it, but not much space towards it. Whereas these two, they offer it, unlimited. Marketing offers, and they give you $200 worth of marketing material. I always buy the basic. Right? www, yeah, in itself, it is a subdomain. Yes, it is. It is. But you wouldn't go and necessarily define www as a subdomain for your site. Right? So that, I mean, that's one is implied out of the natural um, layout of a typical website. Sorry, web address. All right. So if I'm to select any one of these, and I'll just choose basic just in case, man. All right, good. So when I click basic, they now ask, do you have a domain that you want to just point to, or do you want to create one? So I'm just going to create one, web admin 101. That must be free. All right, so generally if it's not free, they would tell you that, hey, it's not free. So let me go back. So if I try Google, let's see what happens if I try to get a free. Cannot be used. Okay, obviously. Um, job board. Let's try that one. All right, good. So if you try something and it is already used up or it's not available, then they'll try and give alternatives. So you see that they're trying to say, okay, you can use .store or also a different what do you call it about it? Sorry. Yeah, so you can change it from .store to .site or .com to .net. So they give you some suggestions. So I can say, okay, I want jobboard365.com. Next. And then, well, I mean, you can use single sign-on to pre-fill some data. But they ask for typical data. So they ask for a number of details about you. I'm not sure what stipulation enforces that or requires that much data. But the reason I'm pointing out that much data is the fact that down here, all right, so they ask you the account plan. How long do you want it for? I see that the prices fluctuate according to the length. So the shorter is the more money you pay per month, right? And of course, you're going to pay one time. So your total is going to $392.16. They're giving us some free stuff. So domain privacy protection. So this is what I was getting at. So you see how much information they ask you for up top? All of that information is public knowledge once you buy the domain. So if you use a service like who is that, what, .net or .com? Hmm. All right, so if you use who is .net, you will actually show this kind of data. So if you want to know who has the website and who is using it and why you can't get it, you can always use that, and it will tell you that okay, it's already registered and this is who it belongs to. Now if you turn on the sorry if you turn on the domain privacy protection, then it will hide your information from here. So it will actually display Bluehost's information here, or your host's information as opposed to your personal information. All right, so that's what that domain privacy option does. All right. Search engine jumpstart. So they offer a few features. I won't really get into those features. You can read more on each one as you see fit. And then you put in your credit card information, you agree to terms, and when you submit, once you submit, you will be redirected to your admin panel. Do I still have a Bluehost? I think I still have a site that I have access to. Let me see if I can log in and show you what's the see if I can log in and show you what cPanel looks like. Ah, it has expired. Has it? No. Oh, this needs to be renewed. Okay, all right. So I guess I can't really show you cPanel. Right. No. If anything, I'll see if I can find another account. See if I can find another account and take some screenshots and send to you guys so you can see what cPanel looks like. All right. But for this class, once again, I don't expect you guys to spend any money. So you can just use this free sign up, and all you need is your email address and a password, and you can just set up your website name. So I already stipulated how you should name your websites. At least I think I did. For the assignments to come. And I think I have an account already, so it's not going to accept me for a free sign up. So I'm just going to log in and show you what it should look like. So clearly you'd see that I already have two web admin instances. So this is what your web address should look like. Right. So this is what your web address should look like once you sign up. HTTPS, and you get a subdomain, which would be the name of the website that you would have stipulated upon signing up. Dot triple zero webhostapp.com. All right. So at the end of the day, you should, and see Sheldon just confirm that the naming convention is there. So that's what your website should look like address wise. But as I said, this is a very, very, very scaled down version of cPanel. Right? cPanel has far more features than this, but obviously it's free, so they're not going to give you a lot. So you have the web host builder, a website builder, sorry. A lot of them have that. So you can do a drag and drop type of build. You have WordPress that you can just install out of the box, right? And then you can just upload your own website, which kind of brings us into the FTP sphere. So you have two ways to enact FTP. You can just say upload, and then it will allow you to upload your files or upload a zip file with all your files and unzip up there. You can actually just add your pages. Um, oh, I'm sorry. I was paying attention to each here. Is everybody seeing my screen? Okay. I just want to confirm. Well, I figure if you all weren't, you would have raised an alarm before now. All right. Can you use paid ads with free hosting? You can. You can use paid ads. I mean, when you build your site, you build your site. It's just that there are limitations. So they meter your bandwidth. I think it goes to sleep after some period of inactivity because you would have seen the status that says running. Your web address is not going to look as attractive because I mean it's going to be dot something dot something dot com, right? So you wouldn't really want to go to a professional setting with that. All right, so you can set the web address. You can just buy a domain from Hostinger, and then that's your hosting right there. But as I say, you would have to spend any money for this course. You have a file manager allowing you to upload your files. So if you don't have an FTP client, which reminds me, I need to install one for this machine. So FTP client could be FileZilla or so, or CyberDuck, or you have a number of them. All right. You get to set up or manage your databases. So I have a database here from a WordPress instance that's running. All right. So I spun up the WordPress using the tool on the site, and it just did everything for me. And a lot of website hosting providers actually give you that capability to just spin up WordPress at will. All right. And some of them offer for shopping carts. I think Bluehost has for Zencart. So you can just spin up an e-commerce. So after you buy the hosting and everything, you just spin up the e-commerce instance and you get your e-commerce. Just like that. You can manage emails, but once again, this is free, so it's very restricted, and there are a number of things that you cannot do here, at least not for free. All right, but it's a good start for you to fully appreciate how you get your files from one point to the other. Here they give you the FTP details, so I went to. Oh, this is being recorded, so settings general, and then FTP details are outlined. So when you get your FTP client, you can just plug in those values and then it would synchronize whatever folder on your computer with this container here on their server for your hosting purposes. All right. Here they actually allow you to change the PHP version, so not everybody does that. Send me. So you have a number of options that you can go through. All right. So from as early as you want, you can go here and start playing around and see what's up. So yeah, so here in 18 hours, your website will be asleep for 1 hour. All right. So that's one of the downsides having this free site. That's, I mean, they're clearly limiting your resources and limiting how much you can do at any given time. All right. So that's a good little primer for setting up a standard shared hosting. So Sheldon just let me know very strongly that he wants to see the IaaS capabilities. So once again, I'm going to go to Azure. I actually pay for an account here. All right, so with Azure, you can actually, once again, you can sign up for, let me just go, just type in Azure. Yeah, so you can actually start off for free and they give you a month trial with $200 worth of credits. Yeah. All right, so here they show you how many regions and where they have data centers. So you see it's quite widespread. So the advantage to cloud, once again, is the fact that it's very robust. So a disaster on the East Coast, if your website is being hosted in the States, for instance, I can choose to host some of the instances here in West US and some over here in East US. So if North Korea, if Kim Jong get boomy and make a move over here, so my thing still set over here, so All right, so that's one of the advantages to cloud. So it's quite robust, right? Um, and they offer quite a few services. Some may be relevant to developers, some more relevant to sysadmins, and so on. But as I said, you can just start free, and there you go. So you get $200 worth of credit for 30 days. You get 12 months of populous free services, and you get up to 25 services that are always free. All right, and here are more details as to what is actually free. So you can get Windows virtual machines, Linux virtual machines for up to 715 hours, 750 hours at a time. You can use up their database offering. So this, you don't have to install SQL Server, but you can just spin up their PaaS offering, or their SaaS offering of SQL Server, and you just connect to it and you just start writing data to it, and you never have to worry about backups and those stuff. So I mean, it's quite powerful. So you can just go here, you just azure.microsoft.com, and you can just read up on it and sign up for an account if you're so inclined. But I'm going to log into my account and show you guys what's up. All right, so all right, so I have a few resources and I've had to run a few experiments to show some people how Azure works. So this is the dashboard. My dashboard looks bare because I took some stuff off it, but you can always just add things to it and it kind of gives you a little monitor to show what's happening when. So I deleted some stuff. Let me just delete. All right. Now, like I was saying earlier, spinning up the VM is one thing, but creating a virtual machine doesn't give you access to the virtual machine. It just means you have a virtual machine. So you actually have to spin up, and this is the IaaS type of setup now, where you have to create a virtual network. So they actually have the option here, virtual networks. Right, so I have this one that I created, and I'm on the subscription pay-as-you-go dev/test. So I have pay-as-you-go where they basically charge you according to how long you use the resources. So they would say, like, for a particular size VM, you're going to pay 10 cents per hour. And then they charge you for the month how many hour slots you used up. So it'll be 10 cents times the number of hours that this virtual machine was on for the month. So it's always a good idea, especially when your credit card is linked to your account, to stop your virtual machine, not shut down. And I'm going to click the virtual machine and show you. All right, here it is. Stop the machine. So even if you shut it down while you're in it and using it, you shut it down, you still have to stop it. So I usually just come and stop it and it will just shut down and everything for me. All right. And then, so I kind of went ahead of myself. So let's get back to the virtual network. So the first thing you want to do is create your virtual network. You add, and then this is where a little networking knowledge will have to come into play. So you give it a name, you give it your address space, which will influence the subnetting. I have my subscription. You have a resource group, you can just create new, and then you go through all of that and you create it. When you would have created it, you would end up with something looking like this. That now has the address space, and it would create these things called network interfaces, or NIC, network interface card. So the NIC is like a virtual Ethernet port now that will actually sit in between the virtual machine and the virtual network and deal with the IP. So when I clicked on this NIC, it would show that my IP address is 10.0.0.5. That is the IP address within the address space on the virtual network. However, for me to see it on the internet so that I can RDP or remote in, I need a public IP address. All right. So this public IP address will now get attached to my virtual machine. All right. So I click on the virtual machine and I look at the summary up top. I see here the public IP address. So when it's up and running, when I click start and it's up and running, I should be able to ping this IP address and it sees that, okay, yeah, something can respond. You can set up a DNS name. You can actually just buy the DNS right here. So as you're actually, this is new. All right. You set up your timeout rules. If I decide I want a bigger machine, I just click size. All right, and it's going to load up all of the machines, and you see all of the specs and the appropriate price. So clearly a 32 gigabytes, well, I mean 120 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm on this machine because I was on this one first for $71 a month, but it was too slow, so I just upped it to this one for 142. Right? But then I don't leave it running all the time. So I've never paid $142. I think the last time I paid like $20 for the amount of runtime. But you can scroll through and see all the different machines and so on, and there are different tiers for different purposes. All right. And then, I mean, once you have your virtual network, you can start adding as many virtual machines as you need and you see fit. And then once they're on the same virtual network, they can all see each other and communicate if needs be. All right. Now, app services refers to that pass offering. Yeah. All right. So the app service actually allows you now it gives you the address space. So when you create one, it gives you an address space. You just define what kind of app you want. Whether you want a WordPress. I think recently, well, web app now supports Python or Ruby or Node. I think they support all of them now. Right? So you can actually just deploy directly here. You don't have to worry about any VM and VNet and all these things. You just deploy, and then you just deploy your code, and they give you a DNS, a default one at azure.com, and then you can spin up. You can set it to auto scale accordingly. Thereafter. And it's a nice, flexible, easy way to get your website up and running. So yeah, here's .NET, PHP, Node.js, or Python. I support all of that. I have some wonderful developments with Cloud. All right, but guys, time is up. I'm not sure if I have anything more I really need to show you guys tonight. So I'm going to just call it a night here. You guys can just go ahead and explore the Azure, explore the free hosting, and start experimenting. If anything, you can just reuse the same website from our websites from assignment 1 as your assignment for assignment 2, for your work for assignment 2. All right. So take care and have a good night.